Welcome to The Appeal. Today is a crash course on market photoacoustics and Fourier analysis. Fourier analysis is said not to work for orienting within the market, but why would that be? It seems that some of the data was already transformed. The issue is with hyperbolic geometry. When a jet, or nowadays when a missile, decides to go supersonic, it will be followed by a cone. A portion of this bigger cone can be seen through the vapor cone. If the object is flying close enough to the ground, the cone's intersection with the ground will be known as the hyperbola. There are three ways to cut up a cone: elliptically, as in elliptic geometry; parabolically, as in Euclidean geometry, producing the parabola; hyperbolically, as seen earlier, which produces the hyperbola; and circular geometry, which often falls under elliptic geometry and semantics. Anharmonics, when moving only a little bit, can be measured as a harmonic attractor. This kind of follows a parabolic curve. As the pendulum grows in length or speed, it starts to diverge and follows a hyperbolic curve. It converges to a tipping point, then diverges. A sine wave is just a twisty circle, but what if the cut of our cone wasn't circular? What if our sine wave was hyperbolic? What if time series analysis sometimes follows a hyperbolic curve? A hyperbolic sine wave is known as a sigmoid and represents a monotonic distribution. As the sigmoid goes up, it is convex. When it levels out, it converges to robust. Finally, it fragilizes and goes concave. At this point, the trend becomes lindy or ceases to be. This pattern is known as the dose-response sigmoid. Mithridates was the king of Pontus and the enemy of Rome, and was from Sinope like Diogenes. His story can help us understand the dose-response sigmoid. Mithridates was surrounded by enemies from both inside and outside his kingdom. Mithridates is known as the Poison King because he discovered that if he injected himself with small amounts of poison, small amounts of harm, he would receive some immunity. This is similar to exercise, in which lifting small rocks helps you lift big rocks later. However, you might injure yourself from lifting too big of a rock, or lifting a rock too many times. This immunity follows the dose-response sigmoid. Fourier analysis takes time series and translates it into sine waves. However, there is one fact that many analysts miss out on. The hyperbolic secant is its own Fourier transformation. Ever notice how a motorcycle sounds different moving towards you than it does moving away from you? That is known as the Doppler effect. As the object is getting closer to you, the wave becomes compressed and elliptic. When the object is moving farther away, the wave becomes stretched and hyperbolic. Light and color does something similar. The universe itself is moving away from us, and because of the Doppler effect, we see everything according to something known as redshift. Your asset is like a motorcycle driving down the graph of your time series analysis, and as it does so, the data gets stretched. The speed of an asset is known as delta, and as the speed increases, the more our asset seems to get red, exaggerated, and hyperbolic. You can actually see delta as a sigmoid. The data is hyperbolic because we can only see where it has been, and where it has already made the paper look all wonky. Just like space-time and the curvature of a potato chip, the market is often hyperbolic. The hyperbolic version of a sine wave is a sigmoid. Instead of sine x, this is sine hx. First it is convex, then it is robust and level, then it finally meets its last bound and is forced into being fragile and concave, and sometimes converges into lindy. The dose-response sigmoid shows us how the human body responds to stress, exercise, and small amounts of poison like Mithridates. It also shows us how the market responds to new stimuli. First, Mithridates builds an immunity with small amounts of variance. Then he is safe. Then he overdoses or is killed by something else. Mithridates survived numerous assassination attempts and lived up until his defeat by Pompey. Under threat of rebellion, Mithridates swallowed his own poison in order to end his fate, but was unable to perish. Even after using his own sword, Mithridates kept on living and had to call for help. He was reverse Humpty Dumpty. When an open system gets too big, it starts to act like a closed system in some dimension, often in relation to heat or time. Joseph Fourier showed us that representing a function as a sum of trigonomic functions allows us to analyze heat transfer by putting the transfer into a language we can understand. This language is sine waves. The state space of a discrete system is best represented by lengths of the chord. The state space of a continuous open system is best represented as portions of a secant. The Fourier transformation of a hyperbolic secant is itself. Unlike Mithridates, Caesar didn't have to ask to be stabbed. More on market photoacoustics later. This has been The Appeal. Thank you.